Okay, we're ready for the second week 10 intervention, concept 10.2. 10.1 is available also, separate video, separate set of practice problems. So now we're ready for 10.2. On concept 10.2, we're looking at the idea of proportional relationships. And the way that we determine one of the symptoms of a proportional relationship is that if you graph the points, they'll make a straight line. And the reason they make a straight line is they all have the same ratio. So as we discussed in class, the straight line isn't what makes them proportional. The straight line is the way that you know they're proportional. It's like going to the doctor. If you go in with a cough, the doctor doesn't diagnose a cough. The doctor diagnoses asthma or bronchitis or pneumonia or a really bad cold. So don't think of it as, oh, the straight line is proportional. The straight line shows that they're proportional. And we'll look at a different way of showing proportional also. So our first step is going to be, actually here, I'm going to pause for a minute. Your first step is going to be to make sure that you're watching this video only after you've done these problems. So you're correcting problems. If you haven't done the problems yet, be sure you get the problem page either online or you get it from Mr. Willmarth or Mr. Christman. You do the problems and then you use the video to check them. You can do some extra practice by going back over your old tests, going back over homework that you've had in class, but the video itself is a correction of a page, because then you use that corrected page to show your teacher that you're ready to take the intervention test. Okay, let's jump into the problem itself. So, Bill is a landscaper and he mixes his own fertilizer. That makes sense. It's a lot cheaper to mix your own. Bill uses a lot in his job. Here's the chart that shows how the fertilizer gets mixed. We're going to make sure, this is one of the common mistakes, we're going to make sure we put the right information in the right spot. So we know that this 7.5 is going to be going over 7.5, and this 15 will be going over 15. We also know that when we're doing the weed killer, we're doing that on the y-axis. So now we're ready to plot some points. So here we go. 7.5, 5. 7.5 on the herbal vita, 5 on the weed killer. 15, 10. 15 on the herbal vita, 10 on the weed killer. 22.5, 15. 22.5, right between 20 and 25, and 15. 30 and 20. 30 and 20. 37.5, right between 35 and 40, and 25. So the points we graphed, let's go back and label them. This was point 7.5, 5. This was point 15, 10. This was point 22.5, 15. This was point 30, 20. This was point 37.5, 25. Now, so we've done part A. That's part A. Graph it to the right. So we've done that. Now the question is it a proportional relationship? We're going to look at that using two different things. First, we're going to use the line test. If you can draw a line from 0 all the way through the points, that was a horrible line. I meant to grab the fancy line tool here, and I didn't grab it before I started drawing. So let me say that again. If you can draw a line through 0, or from 0 all the way through the points, that shows that you have a relationship that is proportional. So yes, this is proportional. Now it asks us to explain. So proportional. So one explanation is that the points create a straight line that goes through 0. That's one way that you can tell. The other way that you can tell is if we do the ratio of all of these, they all have the same ratio. Now, we do our ratio. We've been doing a lot of these. We divide the y by the x. In this case, the herbal vita is the y, or excuse me, the wood color is the y, and the herbal vita is the x. So if you divide 10 by 15, if you simplify that out, you get 2 over 3. And if you put that into a calculator, you get 0.6 with a line over the top. Let me bring up my calculator real quick. You can see I've got some work left from a previous video. If I do 2 divided by 3, I get 0.66666, or 0.6 with a line over the top. If I go back to the original 10 divided by 15, I'm going to get the very same thing. 10 divided by 15, that same 0.6. That also happens if I divide 5 by 7.5. If I do 5 divided by 7.5, I get that same. That also happens, so that was the 5 over 7.5. Let me change up the coloration here just a little bit. That was also the 10 over 15, so let's make that green to match the color I just used. All right, so this was also 0.6. Let's do just one more. Let's take 37.5 and 25. So if I take the y, 25, divide it by the x, 37.5, 25 divided by 37.5, I get 0.6 repeating, or 0.6 with a line over the top. All of them have the same proportion. As long as they all have the same proportion. So again, as long as they create a straight line, like these points created, get rid of our calculator here for a bit, or you test it by testing all the proportions, and we didn't test the 22.5 and the 15 or the 30 and the 20, but they would come out with the same 0.6 if you divided the y by the x. You know you have a proportional relationship. So what you're going to do now is you're going to pause the video. You're going to look at how you did on this one. If you feel like, yep, I've got it, then you can just fast forward to the end of the video, check your work on the second part. If not, go back over part 2 again, maybe rework some problems if you need to rework some problems. If you're dividing backwards or you drew your points in the wrong spot, whatever it is, go back, look over your work, and then be ready to correct that part. Okay, we're ready to look at the second problem here. Tom's Catering Service. They make punch. Let's see if that punch recipe is proportional. So the first thing we're going to do again, we're going to plot all of our points. We're going to make sure, they tell us here, the grape juice is on the x-axis. The apple juice is on the y-axis. And we're going to make sure that we graph carefully and correctly. So 2 grape juice to 1 apple juice, 2 to 1. Now we don't have a 1 shown, but we know that 1 is halfway between the 0 and the 2. We know that there's a 1 right there. For a medium, 4 grape juice to 2 apple juice. For a large, 6 to 3. Again, if we look across, we know there's a 3 right there. For an extra large, 8 to 5. There's a 5 right there. And for a double XL, 10 to 7. I just put that in the wrong spot. 10 to 7 right here. Well, that looks pretty proportional. It looks kind of like a straight line. I wonder if it really is. Let me go and label my points here. This was 2, 1. This was 0.42. This was 0.63. The advantage of labeling is when I label, I can just check and see. 6.3, yep, I did that right. 8.5, 8.5. Because I would hate to throw a point in the wrong spot and get the whole problem wrong, 10.7, because of some mistake that I should have caught. All right, now it's time to see if I get that straight line. So I'm going to start at 0, and I'm just going to go to a point. And, I don't have a proportional relationship this time. The first 3 are proportional, 2 to 1, 4 to 2, and 6 to 3. But by the time I get to 8 to 5 or 10 to 7, it has stopped being a proportional relationship. So my answer to this one is no. It is not proportional. Now, the explain, well, I'm going to explain it 2 ways. My first explain is going to be to simply say no straight line through 0. No straight line through all, because it did go through some, but through all the points and 0. I'm also going to prove it by just looking at a couple of these. So we said that this, if I do this point, I get 0.5. If I do this point, y divided by x, I get 0.5. Unfortunately, when I get out to this point, 7 divided by 10, I get 0.7. And as soon as I get something that's not the same as all the others, it's not proportional. And it doesn't matter how many aren't the same. You could have 6 points that are all identical, but if the 7th point is not, then it's not a proportional relationship. Okay, so check over your work, and as soon as you feel confident about this concept, you're going to go to Mr. Willmarth or Mr. Christman and let them know you're ready to take a test. And you're going to make your grade go up, and you're going to be in a better mood, and you're going to have more confidence, and your cat will love you more, and life will be good. Okay,